Thank you for choosing PDC Laboratories for your 4th Unregulated Contaminant Monitoring Rule testing, also known as Ucmr4. PDC is fully approved for all methods and ready to provide services for your testing requirements. The sampling instructions are subdivided into 3 assessment monitoring groups, AM1, AM2, and AM3 categories to demonstrate the proper sample collection procedure for each group of test methods. Our experienced drinking water team is here to guide you through the process. It is important to familiarize yourself with the Ucmr4 specific sample collection, preservation, and transportation requirements, and we will assist you in the process. Your AM1 Ucmr4 kit includes a large plastic cooler with a liner and a single zip tie. Chain of custody form that is pre-printed with your sample sites and your specific test method groups located in the gallon Ziploc bag. Written sampling instructions, as well as bubble wrap and rubber bands which you will want to save for return shipping. Nitrile gloves. This kit also includes 9 sample containers. Let's go through the specific types of bottles included in your kit. 1 plastic 250 milliliter preserved to analyze total metals germanium and manganese by EPA method 200.8. 3 amber glass 1000 milliliter preserved to analyze pesticides by EPA method 525.3. 2 amber glass 125 milliliter preserved to analyze alcohols by EPA method 541. 3 amber glass 1000 milliliter preserved to analyze semi-volatile chemicals by method 530. Please note that the bottle cap colors may vary, and ice and packing tape for return shipment are not included. Note: each of the bottle preservative and dechlorination agents safety data sheets are available upon request. Let's now go through the specific steps to familiarize you with the process. Number 1. Collect the sample during the month and year indicated on your Ucmr4 sampling schedule and pre-printed chain of custody form. Notify the lab of any scheduling changes and, if possible, collect early in the required sampling month to allow for any unforeseen circumstances that could affect the sampling or analytical process. Collect on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday if shipping is required due to the strict sample acceptance temperature requirement. Avoid collecting samples on Thursday, and you should not collect samples on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday unless special arrangements have been made for the receipt of samples at the laboratory such that they arrive within 48 hours of collection. Number 2. Collect the drinking water sample from an approved EPA site as listed on your schedule. Your public water supply schedule may be obtained by logging into your CDX Exchange account. Next, check the sites listed on your pre-printed chain of custody form to confirm the sites match the CDX schedule. If there is a difference, contact your project manager for help. Number 3. For ease of sampling, each of the sample containers will be pre-labeled with the specific public water supply site location. Nitrile gloves may be worn at your discretion while handling the sample containers due to the potential hazard of bottle preservatives and dechlorination agents. If preservatives or dechlorination agents come into contact with your skin, flush for several minutes, and if necessary, contact your physician. Unwrap the bubble wrap from each glass container and save for return shipment to the lab. Leave the packing material in the bottom of the cooler to prevent bottle breakage. If your public water supply is required to collect from multiple entry point sites, then you may have received multiple coolers. When unpacking the cooler, be sure to keep samples from each cooler grouped together in a designated area to allow for repacking of samples in the same coolers as they were received. Number 4. If sampling from a faucet with an aerator, remove the aerator and screen. Open the tap and let the water run for about 3 to 5 minutes. Number 5. Slow the flow of water to about the width of a pencil and fill each of the 9 bottles one at a time by removing the cap and filling to the top of the first thread of the bottle without overfilling. Replace the cap. Do not rinse the sample bottle. Overfilling or rinsing of sample bottles will most likely cause pH and chlorine readings to be out of acceptance criteria. Invert the sample bottle 3 times to allow the bottle preservatives and/or dechlorination agents to mix with the sample. This inversion step may need to be repeated if the powdered preservatives can still be seen on the bottom of the sample bottle and are not yet dissolved. Number 6. Wrap the bottles securely in bubble wrap and rubber band. Number 7. Remove the chain of custody form inside the gallon-sized Ziploc bag. Print and sign in the designated sampler areas. Record the date, time collected for each AM1 location, and one additional item that will need to be recorded after packing the cooler is the date and time the sample is relinquished and your signature. Place the chain of custody form into the provided Ziploc bag to prevent damage and place on top of the enclosed ice samples after all packing is complete. You will only be required to complete either step number 8 or step number 9, dependent upon if you are using same-day delivery or subsequent day delivery. Number 8. To transport the samples to the lab for same-day delivery, place the bubble-wrapped samples into the same cooler as received and carefully add ice cubes to cover the top of the sample bottles. Gather and twist the large liner together and use the zip tie to secure the bag. There is not a temperature receipt requirement if the samples are on ice and received on the same day as samples are collected. If you are able to transport the samples to the lab on the same business day as the sample collection, then the sample temperature may not yet have stabilized to 10 degrees Celsius or less when they arrive at the lab. It is still critical that ice is added immediately after collection. Number 9. Public water supplies that must ship the samples or deliver on a subsequent day of sample collection need to follow this criteria. When shipping is required, samples must be collected early in the day to allow adequate time to send these samples via overnight delivery to the laboratory. If samples must be stored overnight, refrigeration is required. Just before shipping the samples, use the ice bath slurry process. The ice bath slurry is the recommended method of pre-cooling to ensure they arrive at the lab within the required temperature. Before shipping, place the sample bottles in an ice bath slurry for 1 hour. How to create an ice bath slurry for pre-cooling process. First, fill the slurry container to the top, after allowing for the volume of the samples, with crushed ice if possible, or with cubes. Second, add cold water to within 1/2 inch of the top of the ice. The ice should not be floating in the container but rest on the bottom. Drain excess water as necessary. Third, stir the water and ice mixture for 1 or 2 minutes. Finally, sample bottles can be rotated in after one batch is cooled and the ice bath may need more ice added during the pre-cooling process. And then place the bubble wrap bottles in the cooler after pre-cooling is completed. Carefully add ice cubes to completely cover the top of the bubble-wrapped sample bottles. Gather and twist the large liner together and use the zip tie to secure the bag to avoid leakage. Use the packing tape to secure the cooler lid by wrapping it around the entire cooler. Most shipping providers will not deliver a leaking package. Avoid shipping samples during extreme hot and cold conditions if possible. Temperature requirements being out of the acceptable range will trigger resampling. All samples that do not meet temperature specifications per Ucmr4 requirements will be rejected by the lab. Once the pre-cooling process is complete, they must arrive at the lab 10 degrees Celsius or less within 48 hours of sample collection, or 6 degrees Celsius or less after 48 hours of sample collection. Do not freeze, or resampling will be required. Upon delivery to the lab, the sample receiving department will confirm proper preservation. Samples will be rejected by the lab if temperature, pH, and chlorine requirements for each bottle type are not met, or if a chain of custody form is not included. You will be contacted if resamples are necessary. If samples are received more than 48 hours after collection, the lab must verify from the public water supply that the sample was held at 10 degrees Celsius or less while in their possession. Please record this in Section 5 of the Chain of Custody form by circling yes or no if applicable. Once samples have been analyzed, a monitoring report will be provided to you. The monitoring results will be uploaded electronically by PDC to the Central Data Exchange website and approved by the Public Water Supply. Data will then be transferred by EPA to the National Contaminant Occurrence Database during the Ucmr4 public viewing period. PDC is also required to upload sample quality control data, and the water systems are required to upload data regarding treatment. If you have any questions, please contact our Ucmr4 experts, Kim Rakoski or Margie Nobling. PDC looks forward to working with you and providing exceptional customer service to keep your public water supply safe and within compliance. The sampling, preservation, and cooling requirements of the Ucmr4 program are to assure that samples of uniformly high quality are provided to the laboratory for analysis. Many of us in the water quality field have heard the statement that sampling and sample handling is the most vulnerable portion of the analytical process. These programs' mandated procedures are designed to minimize this variability. Thank you for choosing PDC Laboratories.